Okay, so I'm really glad that you're here listening to us today. And today we have a special guest. We have Laura Whitelaw, who is an EFT coach. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, or also known as tapping. And she offers coaching services for that. So when I thought of this topic of grief, I thought of asking Laura to come in and share her wisdom and how tapping could help. So, Laura, I thought I would start off with asking you to introduce us to what EFT is.
Mhm. Okay, thank you, Carrie. EFT is a healing modality that's been around for 30 years, probably 30 years plus. It was the initial technique was called TFT, thought field therapy, and then Gary Craig was the creator of EFT back in the 90s. I came across the modality early 2000s. Um, there was a coach that I was following, Cheryl Richardson. A lot of people are familiar with her. She was on Oprah way back in the day, and she's got a lot of great books. And she was one of the first newsletters that I signed up for. And she was hosting like weekly teleseminars. And one day she had this guest, Gary Craig, on, and he was talking about this emotional freedom techniques, and blew me away. The whole conversation. I delved more into it, and essentially what it is it involves tapping. So and goes back to acupressure or acupuncture. So we've got these meridian points on our face and body, and when we tap on them, it helps to relax our emotions, our body, our breathing, everything. And it can actually help to release limiting beliefs, negative emotions, pain, um, trauma, all kinds of issues. I guess basically, in a nutshell, the way I like to describe it is that it helps to calm the fight flight response that we all feel when we're stressed out. And,
Yeah.
there's a lot of doctors now that are saying that a lot of disease and illness and, autoimmune diseases or uh, bad responses to germs. We're in COVID
Mhm,
times right now, so like low immune systems
mhm.
um, or compromised immune systems are caused by stress.
Okay.
So it's a wonderful modality for just about any issue that ails you.
Yeah, yeah, I've used it and love it for many different things, as we'll get into it a little bit too. And
Yeah.
yeah, so as I alluded to, this month in the Health Shift Project, we are focusing on grief, and we're providing a variety of tools to help people that are grieving. And this could mean grieving from a specific loss, or another kind of grieving, such as a loss of job or a transition in life that may be causing them to grieve.
hmm
And I thought I'd ask you if you can provide an example from your life and how you used EFT in relation to grief.
Sure. So my story is related to a loss of a loved one. So my mother passed away in 2013. It was from cancer, and obviously that was very upsetting. Even though I have this healing modality literally at my
Yeah.
fingertips, as we'll demonstrate later, it was I still went through all the stages of grief, and uh, one of the classic stages of grief is you might go through like an anger stage, and for
Hmm.
me, I got kind of stuck in that, and it related back to one of the last conversations I had with my mother. It wasn't a pleasant conversation, and it really upset me. And I think it all came because she was feeling like crap. This was like a couple of months before she passed away, and she was sick from cancer. So she felt lousy, and we had a bit of an argument, and she was a bit insulting.
Mm-hmm.
And so and I didn't speak up for myself at the time because I it was like, well, she's sick. Like, I don't want to get into a fight knowing
Right.
that this could be our last conversation. So I
Right.
bottled that up inside. And um, I guess I also kind of had this idea that when the time did come, that we'd settle all of our differences that we'd had through the years. And I know
Mm-hmm.
my story's not unique. A lot of people have
Mm.
like issues with their mom or their dad, like
Unfortunately, yes.
unfortunately, yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Hopefully I haven't done that to my son, but anyway, it is what it is. So um uh yeah, so I had this kind of Hollywood idea in my mind as to how it might play out when the time came, and we knew it was terminal. The doctors had stopped treatment by that point and so on. And I had this idea that you know, there'd be, forgiveness, and, she'd tell me I was the best daughter in the world, and I'd tell her she was the best mother in the world, and all that kind of thing. And that really didn't happen. We never got that moment because we got word that, and my mother lived in another city, but we got word that we were coming to the end. And before my brother and I could get there,
Mm-hmm.
she passed away. So we never got that opportunity, and
Oh,
she was
sorry.
she wasn't conscious by that point anyway. So
Okay.
so so that was difficult to deal with. But the last, I guess, quote unquote argument that we had was something that I was stuck in the anger about,
Right.
because I didn't speak up at the time, and because I sort of thought, wow, I never got that opportunity to have that conversation where she told me I was the best daughter in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I used EFT for my grief,
Okay.
and not like I was trying to deny my grief or anything, because it's
Mm-hmm.
healthy to
Mm-hmm.
move through grief.
Of course.
But if you get stuck in it, then it affects every other area of your life, and it can have an effect on your health and so on. So the part where I got stuck was in the anger, reflecting back on what had happened prior to her death. So I did actually, I used EFT, but I was struggling with it. So I reached out to an EFT practitioner myself who helped me move
Okay.
through that, which was a huge relief. I came out of those sessions feeling at peace with
Mm.
everything, and just love for my mother, which is where you want to where you want to be with
Yeah.
people who've passed away, right?
Yeah.
Feeling at peace, and feeling grateful for that relationship.
Right.
And where I noticed that how it had made such a huge difference for me
Mm-hmm.
was even 2 years later at Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
which that would be 5 years ago now or so. And my mother passed away in 2013. My brother was really struggling 2 years after the fact with the idea of my mother not being there for Thanksgiving,
Okay. Yeah.
because it was 2 years prior was really the last time we'd seen her again, because
Right.
um, she was living in another city and anyway. But to make a long story short, my brother was still stuck in the grief 2 years later, and
Okay.
really, like, and that might be also be a product of men. They don't tend to
Yeah.
let it out.
Process your emotions as well. Yeah. I hear you.
But yeah, that's I highly recommend a healing modality to, whether it's EFT tapping or another method for helping you to move through the grief, especially when it's the loss of a loved one, because it is a very heavy emotion.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I think you were saying before, like in that comparison from you and your brother, who he didn't use EFT, I'm assuming,
Right,
is that right?
right.
Yeah, and
Correct,
you
correct.
do. like you still had the sadness of the loss of your mother, but the anger had passed, and that
Yes.
you felt like
Yeah.
you had gone through the full grieving process, and
Yes.
the seeing that
Yes.
comparison difference
Hmm.
to kind of show you that, yeah, this really worked. This really helped
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that's a
Yeah. And
good, yeah,
it was nice to be able to get to that place of just feeling
yes,
love and peace about my
absolutely.
relationship with her. Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause,
like you say, that's the end goal of where you want to be, and you had a modality that helped you get there.
yes.
That's
Exactly.
so nice.
Exactly.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that personal story. I appreciate it.
Yeah. My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, Laura, if we can show everybody the process of EFT and like a
Sure.
tapping session, and we can keep it, general. Like we'll keep it around grief, but the people that are watching this, we encourage you to join along with Laura and I as she does this demonstration. And yeah, I'll pass that on to you, and you can
Sure.
kind of give an explanation of what we're going to do. And yeah.
Sure thing. Sure. Okay. So I guess for anybody who's never been exposed to EFT or tapping before, it might look a little strange to you, but just follow the process, trust the process, just relax through the process, and um, you'll find it's really really helpful, especially the more you practice, and especially if you practice with if you're new to it, with somebody who's trained in EFT. um, you'll notice a difference over time, because um, you'll it's almost like you kind of train your body to heal with this modality. So a little bit like, like with yoga type of thing. You might not
Okay.
be able to quite touch your toes in the beginning, but the more you practice, the better you get at reaching your toes.
Yeah, that
So
is true, and I can attest to that. When I'm thinking back to when I first started doing it, and yeah, it's so true. The more that I did it, and the quicker I would get to that release state. So, like
yeah,
you're saying, I can understand where you're going with that. Like the first time, and if this is completely new to somebody, they might not get to that point in this little demonstration, right?
that's right. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, the other thing that comes too with the more you use EFT is, um, and the more you just do this kind of work in general, this type of healing work, you're able to tap into your emotions a lot
Yeah.
better. Like sometimes I mean, most people are going around with this kind of low grade anxiety, but they
Yeah.
can't pinpoint it to what it is, which usually
Yeah.
goes back to a belief, right? But they can't
Ah,
pinpoint what that belief is. They just know that they've got this anxiety, and
right.
it's like, and they might lash out at the kids or at their coworkers or whatever. But what it comes down to
Yes.
when we start digging in there is, maybe a belief that I'm not good enough, or that I can't pay my bills, or whatever. It could be
Yes.
anything.
I
Um,
I love that about EFT because I got there too. Like I was
mm,
surprised as I was going through it. I would start with something, and then as I'd go through it, different things would kind of pop up.
mhm.
And it was like, whoa, where did that come from? Okay, let's tap on this. And that's the process that I love about doing this tapping. It's
Absolutely.
surprising sometimes the things that come up, and it's like, okay, you're coming up for a reason. I need to address this. And what a better
Absolutely.
way to do it than with tapping?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know people are anxiously awaiting me to do this for the tapping demonstration here. But let me just say that a lot of things that block us today are
Okay.
from the first 7 years, right? For
Oh,
of our life. That's because children between the ages of 0 and 7 years old,
hmm,
they don't have a filter.
right.
So whatever beliefs their parents have or authority figures have, they take that on as truth, type of thing.
Mm,
So, if you have parents that say, oh, there's never enough money, or struggled with money, that kind of thing, then that frames a child's belief about what the world's like. It colors their world, right? So when we do tapping today, sometimes memories come up from our childhood, and it might not necessarily have to do with money, but it could be memories of being criticized or abused, God forbid. Those things come to the surface, and people are often surprised by that, but that's the beauty of it. That's what you want to get to, so you can release those traumas from the past and find peace in the moment now. So we got a little sidetracked there, but I thought it was
Yeah.
important to bring up since you mentioned memories coming to the surface.
Yeah, I do feel that is an important part. I mean, I'm not a coach on that, but I just through my own process and the things that I've worked through with EFT, I did find that an important part of it, of allowing whatever comes up and then working through it, even though sometimes it seems like, what, that doesn't seem related. Don't judge it. Just go with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, great. So we'll get into the demonstration now. So basically what we want to do with EFT is pick a target, and it's the emotion around that target. So I'll just, to do our first example, we'll just label it the problem.
Okay.
And basically what we do is we tap on the side of the hand and we say, even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. And then we go around the points, which is the eyebrow, like right the inside of the eyebrow, this problem, and then side of the eye, this problem, and then under the eye, this problem, under the nose, right there, this problem, right here in the under the chin, this problem. That's okay. It's a very forgiving process, so it's okay if you skip a point. And then the next point is like the collarbone point. So it's just, you've got your collar. Well, me, I've got my collarbone right there. It's just a little bit underneath there. This problem. And then usually, you can't really see me on the camera, but usually we do like the underarm point, which is just for women, it's right where your bra strap is under your arm. So you tap there a few times, this problem, and then the top of the head, this problem. And you'll see different practitioners using different points or in a different sort of sequence. Doesn't matter. It all works. It's stimulating the acupressure points that helps, right? And tuning into the problem, whatever that problem is. So now that we've done that, we can certainly go through an example with loss. Just in keeping with the theme of grief and what you said earlier, what you mentioned earlier about, not only is it grief related to losing a loved one, which was the example I gave, but a lot of people are feeling grief at the moment, especially during COVID, because, they might have lost loved ones, but, loss of family time. I know I haven't seen my extended family since last Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Loss of jobs, loss of income, maybe loss of relationships, whether that's friends or a romantic relationship. There's been so much loss during this time.
Absolutely.
And, and a lot of people, and unfortunately, not only are we in a pandemic, but we're in a big mental health crisis right now too. That's not talked about a lot, very much right now. Like it's COVID's getting all the attention and politics, but it's taken a real toll on some people in the population. So if anybody listening to this is in that group where you're really feeling, like please reach out to somebody to get some help. And EFT tapping might be the thing for you to help you heal from the depression or whatever you might be feeling right now. So for our audience, like if you could just take a moment to tune in to whatever loss you've experienced the most during this time or are experiencing right now, and it could even be loss of sleep.
Oh, that's a good one.
Sleep issues are a problem.
Yes.
But just tune in to whatever loss you're feeling, and we're going to go through some tapping around loss. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So I'll ask you to repeat after me. Be my echo.
Okay. I
That's
will.
okay. Okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay. So even though I'm feeling this loss,
Even though I'm feeling this loss,
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though this loss has been really hard to deal with,
Even though this loss has been really hard to deal with,
I choose to acknowledge it and let it go.
I choose to acknowledge it and let it go.
Even though I'm feeling all this loss
Even though I'm feeling all this loss
and I can't see a way out of it,
and I can't see a way out of it,
I'm open to letting it go.
I'm open to letting it go.
Okay. So then we'll go to the eyebrow, all this loss,
All this loss,
side of the eye, all this loss that I'm feeling,
all this loss that I'm feeling.
under the eye, it's been so hard, all of this loss.
It's been so hard, all of this loss.
Under the nose, all this loss.
All this loss.
Chin point, all of this loss.
All of this loss.
Collarbone, all of this loss.
All of this loss.
Underarm, all of this loss and all that I'm feeling.
All of this loss and all that I'm feeling.
Top of the head, it's been so hard.
It's been so hard.
We'll do another round. All of this loss.
All of this loss.
It might be loss of income.
It might be loss of income.
Under the eye, it might be loss of a loved one.
Might be loss of a loved one.
Might be the loss of freedom.
Might be the loss of freedom.
The loss of security.
Loss of security.
Collarbone, the loss of a relationship.
Loss of a relationship.
Underarm, all this loss.
All this loss.
Top of the head, all this loss.
All this loss.
Okay, so just take a deep breath. That just helps the energy to move. And we can do another round, more on the positive end of things, but that's a basic demonstration of how it works.
Right.
A lot of people get caught up in the wording, and sometimes that's what prevents people from actually tapping.
Okay.
But you can just go around and tap on the points and just breathe and just tune into whatever emotion it is that you're feeling, and that will
Right.
give relief. That will certainly give some relief.
Yeah. Okay. Because
Yeah.
you would kind of end with one round of something like positive. Is that right?
You
Yeah.
can. I like to do that, but you should be able to get there naturally just by
Okay.
releasing the negative, to be honest with you.
Gotcha. Okay. So you don't have to.
You
It's a
don't have
personal
to.
preference, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. We can certainly go through a more positive round now if you like. Do you want to?
Sure. We'll
do that?
just do a short one.
Okay.
We'll show them the difference. Okay.
Sure. Okay. So let's go back to the eyebrow then.
Okay.
Letting go of this loss.
Letting go of this loss.
All these feelings of loss.
All these feelings of loss.
Feeling more peaceful.
Feeling more peaceful.
Under the nose, letting in peace and calm.
Letting in peace and calm.
Letting go of any remaining loss.
Letting go of any remaining loss.
Letting it all go.
Letting it all go.
Underarm, allowing my body to relax.
Allowing my body to relax.
And my mind.
And my mind.
Okay, so then take a deep breath.
That felt great.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
So it works better when we get very specific about the problem, but that should help people
Mm,
feel at least a little bit of relief. What I like to
yeah.
do with people, which we didn't do here, is have you rate on a scale of 1 to 10. So if we take the topic
Right.
of grief, how deeply are you feeling that emotion? So if it's a 10, we like to measure and see, it might come down a couple of points or 3 or 4 points, and we like to try and get that down to like at least a 2, if not lower,
Okay.
to
Okay.
try and give the best result or the most relief possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh, that was wonderful.
good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
feel I feel calmer.
Do you? Yeah,
I
exactly. And like you say, once you are more experienced with it, you can get there. Like that's just 2 rounds,
Yeah,
and you are noticing that difference so quickly
yeah,
because you've worked that muscle.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure,
and your
for
body
sure.
recognizes it, right? Your body
That's
knows,
right.
ooh, I get good things when I do this.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share with our audience that, like, although the topic of the month with grief, and so Laura shared that demonstration of how to use it with grief and shared her story, but there are lots of other ways that you can, and life issues and problems that you can use EFT with. And so I just wanted to highlight that a little bit. And I thought I can share an example of one of my favorite ways that tapping helped me. And that was, gosh, it's about 10, maybe, yeah, about 10 years ago. And as I was probably introduced to it, it was through a naturopath that I was working with at the time, introduced it to me probably about 12, 13 or so years ago. So
Nice.
I, had been working with ENT on and off, for a bit of time. And then I was in a job that I hated. I
Mm,
absolutely hated what I was doing. And I knew that there was something more out there for me that I should be doing. And so, but when I was at work, oh, like just so much anxiety, so much frustration. And I thought, I used tapping for that. And I would go into a private room at the corporate office that I had worked at. I've worked for a very large company. So it was nice. They had these little private rooms, and I would go
yeah,
in there sometimes in tears. There's something that just happened that set me over the edge, or I was just in a moment of frustration, like I really hate my job, but I don't know what the next step is, and I don't know how to get there. And I'm
yeah,
also, and I believe you are as well, a big believer of law of attraction.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
And
Yeah.
so I know that sitting in that anxiousness, in that frustration, in that ugh
Oh
feeling is
yeah.
not helping. It's
Yeah.
not going to help me manifest the job that I
Yeah.
desire, right?
Yeah.
So
No.
I used
Yeah.
EFT to help um, get me out of those frustrated, anxious feelings so that I could get into a better state of mind for the law of attraction to manifest. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I desire.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Because now people, unfortunately, people think that the law of attraction is all about vision boards and affirmations,
Hmm.
but it's about being more in a state of relaxation, having
Exactly.
clarity about what you want,
Yes,
and listening to your inner guidance. So, but when you're
exactly.
stressed out, you can't hear your inner
No,
guidance.
right.
And when you're stressed out, you don't have clarity about what you want.
Yes.
So, so yeah, like if I can give anybody a one piece of advice about
Hmm.
getting the law or getting activating the law of attraction or becoming a conscious creator of
Yes.
their life is to
Yes.
relax. Make that your
Yes.
number one priority.
Yeah, I loved that it really, really helped to address my anxiety and my frustration. And like I was kind of saying earlier, I was amazed as I was tapping and working through it, the things that would bubble up. And it was
Mm,
like, ooh, what's that? Because I know a lot of the frustrations and the anxieties that I was feeling then about the job and about the blockage of but where to go and all of that stuff was, like you were saying, like from past hurts, ancient, not ancient, but like early childhood
Yeah.
beliefs, old
Yeah.
beliefs patterns, right? That needed to be
Yeah.
addressed and worked through, and tapping helped me do that. So as I'm sitting
Good.
there in my
I love
private
that.
little room feeling, I would help to calm myself down, and things would show up and I'd tap through it. And I am one who I always did like to end off with a positive at the end. And all of a sudden all that positive is just flowing through me. And
Hmm.
although I go into that room in an anxious feeling, yet very yucky state, I would walk out of that room going,
Just feeling
oh
like
my
$1,000,000
gosh,
bucks.
I totally did. And there were times I needed to go into that room a little more often, and there were times that once would do it, and I felt great the rest of the day. So I loved it. And then because it helped me get into that right frame of mind and that peaceful state, just like what you were explaining, love, it helped to activate, and I did manifest my next step. And I
Good.
actually was inspired to go back to school to become a nutritionist,
Love
and
it.
then another job appeared from that, and just all these wonderful things started entering into my life. And I really do feel so much of it came from me sitting in that room doing the EFT and
Absolutely.
allowing that stuff to bubble up and working through it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. And then, of
Yeah.
course, the yay of the law of attraction. But I needed to work through that in order to get to that state, to
The
open
next
myself
step.
up to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that story.
Good. Thanks.
Yeah. I have.
I
Mhm.
haven't thought of that story in a while, so it was fun to revisit that.
Yeah. And I can totally relate to that because years ago I was in a job that I absolutely hated. Hated.
Yeah.
And it was causing me a lot of stress and anxiety, and it was just the absolute worst job experience I've ever had.
Mm.
Anyway, I was so stressed out, and another time when I hired an EFT practitioner to help me out, and the coolest thing, like you might have heard of Kundalini energy.
Yes. Yes.
So I had an experience of Kundalini energy or whatever while I was working with this practitioner because I had a lot of lower back pain.
Oh.
And I'm not sure what Louise Hay would say about that, but anyway, I think when you feel threatened or you're stressed or whatever, lower back pain is I think it was either lower or mid back. Anyway, I can't really remember now because it's quite a few
Mm.
years ago. But anyway, a lot of stress. Worked with the EFT practitioner specifically about all the job related stress. And during the session, I literally felt the energy going up my back, up through the back of my neck, and up over, through the back of my head and out.
Wow.
And it was, yeah, it was like, it was
That's
amazing.
cool.
It was
I
very
want that
cool.
experience.
Yeah, it was like, whoa. It was,
Wow.
if I can say, it was almost like sexual experience.
Okay. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
orgasmic.
yeah, for sure. Like I just felt the energy kind of coming out the top of going up my spine and up out the back of my neck and out the top of my head. It was wow.
That's
It was
amazing.
amazing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I know that they say EFT does help with pain and things as well,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
I've
the
I've
back pain
never
was
used it
gone.
personally for pain, but that's a great example of how you
Yeah.
used it for pain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great example of
And how that pain was there because of emotions, right?
yes,
And it
for
needed to work
sure.
its way out of the body. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
It
love
was a
that.
very cool experience. Yeah,
Love
no,
this
I
stuff.
don't know if I think sometimes that's kind of spontaneous when
Okay.
you get an experience like that. I I don't have a lot of pain, thankfully. Maybe people
Right.
who work, and I don't specifically work with people around their pain issues.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's common or not, to be honest with you. It's not my area of expertise, but yeah, it was just a spontaneous thing. It was very neat.
Okay. Cool.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And I know, I just want to say a disclaimer, like we're not saying, oh, EFT is the cure all end all
no,
and going
no,
to cure you pain, but it's another modality that you can try, right? That if you are experiencing
absolutely.
pain. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you raise a good point there. Like I wouldn't suggest to anybody to like throw their pain medications out and use EFT. Like, I always promote it as a complementary therapy, not a
Yes.
replacement for what you might already be doing with a doctor,
Hmm.
a naturopath, or a chiropractor, or anything like that. Like it's like don't throw away your like whatever you're using to manage your current situation.
Hmm.
Don't throw it out and then just use EFT. It's a
Exactly.
complement, and that's what's great about it. It's a complementary
Hmm.
therapy you can use alongside anything else.
Exactly. Because, yeah,
So
it was a naturopath I was working with that
yeah,
introduced me to it. And so yep, like here's the supplements I want you to be taking, and here's the this, and yep, here's the EFT that I want you to be doing, So,
yes,
yeah, it was,
yeah, yeah. A lot of massage therapists, a lot of body work,
yes.
and health practitioners have
Hmm.
uh, started offering EFT alongside everything else that they do because it's so complementary to so many things.
Great.
Hmm.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. So I love that we're sharing a little bit about other ways that you
yeah,
can use EFT.
yeah.
And I also wanted to share a little bit about your business because I know you're a tapping coach, and for your business, you focus on helping women with financial success.
Right.
And I'd love for you to. Oh, yeah, I wanted to read your mission statement because when I
Sure.
I was on your website again, I read it and I just thought it was so beautiful. So I wanted to share it to our audience here.
Okay.
So Laura's mission statement is to help empower ambitious female entrepreneurs the world over with mindset techniques and LOA, law of attraction, tools to help them build their confidence and create a profitable business that taps into their unique talents, supports them financially, and fires them up every day. That's beautiful.
Oh,
Did
thank
you
you.
want to share? Did you want to
Sure.
share anything about how you work with your clients, or
Sure
yeah,
thing.
anything about your business that you'd like to share?
Sure. Sure thing. So I am a certified tapping into wealth coach. So my area of expertise is helping people with their money blocks and with um, becoming conscious creators and I primarily work with female entrepreneurs. Now I have worked with um, female employees or unemployed females, but my primary niche, I guess, is female entrepreneurs. And yeah, I'll work with clients anywhere from 1 month to 3 months. My programs are between 1 and 3 months long. And I mean, basically, I guess over that period of time, what we do is we get you out of effort. Okay, so unfortunately, our society believes that effort is what makes you successful, is what produces results.
Hmm.
And this is going to sound like a really radical idea to a lot of people. It's not. It's actually your mindset. So, if we're bogged down by unsupportive beliefs and negative emotions and traumas, as we've talked about through this podcast, um, it'll have a negative effect on your outer results, right?
Right.
So, and it'll affect your money set point. So, what we do in my programs is we help uncover uh, those beliefs that are we're often not aware of, as you
Hmm.
said. Like there's some memories and traumas that came up from your past when you were tapping that
Yeah.
you weren't aware were blocks.
Hmm.
So I have a specific process to help you um, bring up those limiting beliefs, those traumas, those memories, those negative emotions, so that we can release them, so that you'll
Hmm.
feel more peace and calm. You can tap into your your inner intelligence, your higher intelligence, your inner being, uh,
Mm.
and move through the world with, or work your business from a point of uh, inspiration, rather than, pushing to get that next piece of content out, and racking your brain through writer's block, or uh, whatever, all those things that plague us
Yeah.
as entrepreneurs, that make us feel like we're trying to run through mud,
Right.
so that everything just flows better. And that's when the money flows better. And I'm sure people can think of examples where they just felt like really at peace with everything, and relaxed, and their life just flowed. And maybe they felt more abundant at the time. And some people looking back might think, well, I felt more at peace because I was abundant. It's actually the opposite. Uh, the emotion comes first, which is the
Right.
feeling of peace, and
Yeah.
then the abundance comes.
Nice.
So the prosperity, all that good stuff. So I like the analogy of a professional investor. So we
Hmm.
have these day traders. Um, so of course, you've got people that like to play the stock market, but
Hmm.
oftentimes that doesn't go too well. But these professional investors, that are successful,
Right.
when you talk to them, you find out that they've learned to really manage their emotions and get
Uh-huh.
themselves centered and grounded. And then they're much better at trading stocks. I don't know that world at all. That's not what I do. But
Right.
these people that trade stocks for a living, for their
Hmm.
own personal portfolio, or maybe they trade for clients as well.
Yeah.
But they're really, into the whole law of attraction thing, and
Mhm.
managing their emotions, because you
Yeah.
make poor choices when you're stressed.
Yes. Yes.
So
I
so
love
that's
it.
what we help you with. We help you get to a place where you can make better decisions, tap into your inspiration, your higher intelligence, and allow more money in.
I love it.
Hmm.
Perfect. And it's I love that when I thought about, oh, what, when I was thinking grief and boop, EFT just popped into my head. And do you ever go in cycles where you're doing it frequently and then you kind of forget about using it? Do you do that,
I don't.
or are you in a
I
good routine of it now?
Well, I don't think I ever forget about it, but I do go through periods of time where I don't really use it.
Okay.
But I have a daily yoga practice, which
Yes.
helps as well. So I think that's
Yes.
where sometimes I don't really feel like I necessarily need it. Like, for
Gotcha.
the most part, I feel good. Now, I have to admit, at the start of this pandemic, I was tapping a lot, because
Right.
it was just so weird. Like, what?
Right.
What's
Yeah.
going on? Like, with everything, that the way that all unfolded, and all of a sudden within 24 hours we were locking down,
Yeah.
and and I know I'm not alone in that, and I know I'm not the only EFT practitioner that kind of went
Right.
at the beginning of this, because it was like, what's happening. So I
Well, I
did use
love
tapping a
this
lot.
refresher because I'm out of practice with it. And I
Okay.
shared one story when I used it, like 10 years ago. And there have been, a couple other times, but I've kind of, I'm not in a regular practice. So I love that it popped into my mind to use it, because it was almost saying to me too, Carrie, remember this tool that you haven't
Yes.
been using for a while that you could really utilize right now? So this conversation is bringing it top of mind for my personal life again. So I want to start to get into the habit of using it again more regularly, because I know the benefits of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, good. Well,
Yeah.
that's good. I'm glad that it popped back into your brain again.
Yeah.
It's it's
And
a
you
useful
popped
tool.
into my brain along with it, because you and I
Okay,
had,
good.
worked a bit together,
Yeah,
uh, and I seeked you out as a coach. And so that's why you
good.
popped into my brain when I thought of EFT. And I wanted to share you with our audience.
I
And
love it.
yeah,
Thank
because I
you.
think you're a great practitioner, and
Oh,
I'd love
thank you.
for others to reach out to you.
Oh, awesome.
And with that, I'd like to share with our audience your website. So it, I believe, is overwhelmtoempowerment.com. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct. Now, the other way you can get there too is if you go to LauraWhitelawCoaching.com, and that'll
Okay,
take you to directly to overwhelmtoempowerment.com. So,
perfect.
mhm.
Okay, great. And I will share all of this and the notes when I post it as well so that people can just click right on there as well. And you also have a Facebook group.
I
Is
do.
that right?
I do. It's called the Thriving Spiritual Entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So if you go to my website, it's kind of, there's a link right at the top.
Hmm.
Well, the first time you go to my website, you'll see accept cookies. Once you accept cookies, you'll see a link that you can
Okay.
join my Facebook group. And I think it's on the right hand side as well. There's a link. So if you
Perfect.
want to hang out in my group, come join
Yeah,
me.
I'm trying to remember if I'm a part of your group. I will, after this, go make sure that I am a part of
Okay.
your group. I know I get your emails. Like I'm a
Okay.
part of your newsletter and I
Okay.
get your emails for sure and read them. So,
Love
but I'll
it.
make sure that I'm a part of this Facebook group. Yeah,
Perfect. That's great.
wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Laura,
My
for
pleasure.
sharing your wisdom
Thank
and
you.
glad to have you part of the Health Shift Project.
Yeah, thank you. It was a real pleasure. Thanks so much for thinking of me and inviting me on, Carrie.
Okay, thanks. Have a
Okay.
great day.
You too. Take care. Bye.